Understanding prose. Session 1. Definition. Prose is a form of language that has no formal metrical structure. It applies a natural flow of speech, an ordinary grammatical structure rather than rhythmic structure, such as in the case of traditional poetry. Prose is derived from the Latin word prosa, which literally means straightforward. It is like talking to someone in a straightforward manner and not in a sing-song or poetic way. This means that anything you say or write in prose is presented in a straightforward manner. For instance, this course material is presented in prose. The Oxford English Dictionary, OED, defines prose as straightforward discourse, or the ordinary form of written or spoken language. The ordinariness of prose makes it different from poetic language, which, at its most characteristic, is recognizable from the presence of rhyme or meter. This ordinariness is a strength from the perspective of communicative efficiency and flexibility. There are many views on the construction of prose, but the summary of these views is that it has a simple and loosely defined structure. There is usually no effort to present prose in any particular or special structure. This lack of formal structure makes it to be adopted as the general mode of communication in many formal and informal presentations like the spoken dialogue, speeches, factual, topical and fictional writing. This means that most of the books you read are presented in prose, and that you also talk in prose form. Prose is a form of language that exhibits a grammatical structure and a natural flow of speech, rather than a rhythmic structure as in traditional poetry. Where the common unit of verse is based on meter or rhyme, the common unit of prose is purely grammatical, such as a sentence or paragraph. Prose is made up of complete sentences, which constitute paragraphs in a narrative form. Prose reflects the pattern of everyday speech. If words are not presented in prose, they are presented in poetry or verse form, that adheres to a particular metric form and definite structure. Poetry has a more systematic form of presentation than prose. However, in prose the writer does not just present words, whether they make sense or not. Words in prose are arranged in correct sentences, and in a logical sequence for a meaningful understanding of the intended communication. In view of this, Samuel Taylor Coleridge insists in his definition of prose and poetry that prose is words in their best order, poetry the best words in their best order. In writing, therefore, anything that is not presented in verse is presented in prose. Prose is the written equivalent of the spoken language. It is written in words, phrases, sentences, paragraphs and chapters. It utilizes punctuation, grammar, and vocabulary to develop its message. Prose is made up of fiction and nonfiction. Prose is the way you speak every day. If someone followed you around and reported on your actions and conversations, the result would be prose.